Hi, I'm Deacon Ralph Poyo. You know, one of the pretty big topics of today, whether the world wants to discuss it or not, is sin. The world doesn't want to discuss it, or the world would just frankly like the church to just say, you know, why are you talking about it? We don't really need to talk about sin. You're going to hurt people if you talk about sin. Well, I think we really need to unpack it for just a second so we can see how maybe we could best approach it. Sin actually is the pursuit of happiness. We just pursue happiness outside of God's paradigm. And for us with a Catholic worldview who believe that our identity, our very being, our existence all depends on the activity of God who created us in his image, we then come to a much better understanding that sin is not a breaking of a set of rules that were arbitrarily put in our path. But they're actually given to us from our Creator, who created us not because he wanted a bunch of human robots that just simply obey his will. He created us because he has this intimate relationship within himself, the Trinity, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, is this amazing, intimate communion of persons who share this amazing love. Selfless love, love that looks for the best of the other. And it's in the midst of this unity of love that they desired, you know, wouldn't it be amazing if we could create other creatures who also had this capacity to love as we love? And so that's why we're created in God's image, and we're also created with the ability to love selflessly, which means we must be free to choose to love or not love. So sin is really not really the breaking of a rule as much as it is a rejection of a relationship. It's a rejection of a relationship with the one who gave us life, who gave us the rules, who is the creator, who has the three great attributes of omniscience, knows everything, omnipotence, all-powerful, omnipresent, everywhere at the same time, of which no other human being could ever claim to profess to have any of those. But yet we have this relationship with a living God who has these attributes. And, you know, when we walk around in our lives and professionally we engage other people and we tell people, maybe clients, this is what we're going to do with you, we fully expect to be believed. And if someone immediately doubts us or challenges us and maybe even accuses us of lying, that we're not sincere or true, we would be greatly offended. And yet we do that with God all the time. We go against God and we doubt him. We doubt in his goodness. We doubt in his abilities. And so much to the point that the world would rather say that there is no God. He does not exist. And yet for us as Christians, as Catholics, we know that God exists. Particularly since if we're walking in earnestness with God, we experience the life of the Holy Spirit alive and activated in our hearts. We sense the Spirit's presence. You see, all of this has to do with intimacy of relationship, of which sin constantly breaks. And so when we engage in the battle of sin, it's really engaging the battle of maintaining relationship. We experience it in our daily relationships. If we're married with our spouses, the moment we sin against our spouse, what goes? You know, there's all of a sudden an instant coldness between us. There's no longer this intimacy. Love is no longer free to flow between us because we've grieved them or they have grieved us. We close up. We build up the walls in front of our hearts. We put on a mask. We pretend everything's fine. But we can sense that there's something wrong between us. Well, the same is true. What we've ended up doing with God is in the pursuit of happiness, we've stopped listening to why God would say, you know, you shouldn't be doing this. Maybe it's because we don't understand God's rules, his laws, like say with our sexuality. I know I did that. I pursued, you know, porn and other things for the purpose of thinking that it's going to make me happy. Other men pursue sexual relationships, fornication, premarital sex. We do all these different things, and yet what Satan would want to do is destroy our relationship with God and each other. So he takes the goodness of our sexuality and our humanity and twists it. Why? Because he just seeks to destroy. God comes with this profound love and says, no, you were made for more. You were made for a love of selflessness, a love that enables you not to be free of rules so that you can sin and do whatever you want, but that you're actually free to love. And honestly, truth be told, we're not free to love, not when we're in sin. Why? Because we're bound. We have a mask. We have walls up in front of our hearts. We withhold ourselves from other people. See, if we really look at the truth, when we engage in sin, we engage in bondage. We run and we hide, and we're not free anymore. Well, God desires our freedom. He desires you and I to be free to love. And when we do that, we experience the fullness of the life that God intended for us to live.